Namaste everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. So, हाँ भाई सुशांत आसिम मुनीर सानू बम मारन डिया की हो रहा है?
यार मैं बोल बोल के लोगों को थक गया हूँ। मतलब कि वो शेख रशीद के ढाई ढाई सौ ग्राम के बम हो, 1.25 किलो के, या क्या पाव के बम, या आसिम मुनीर के बम हो। बेसिकली देयर आर बंच ऑफ बम्स यार, these Pakistanis.
नहीं मगर
So
how do you make sense of it? Yaar, he's in a private dinner. So this is all enticing. We don't have a video evidence of this. Before somebody says this is all based on a report by Praveen Sami on the print. That's from where it starts. It is in Tampa, Florida. This is a behind the closed door dinner where he makes absurd and bizarre statements like, if India builds a dam, we will throw rocket launcher, हम rocket launch कर देंगे वो डैम पे, we will destroy Ambani's house, और एक तो he got the entire direction wrong, उसको वो direction भी नहीं मालूम थी, खैर वो पाकिस्तानी था. Then he says, we are like a dump truck with grovel and India is like a Mercedes. Like, how do you analyze it? यार सानू मर्सिडीज बोल रहे हैं, ठीक है, मतलब आई एम वेरी प्राउड मर्सिडीज वाला, मगर पॉइंट है कि उसको लगता है कि ये बहुत बड़ी उसने कोई कमाई की है.
नहीं, तो तू समझ नहीं रहा. पहली बात तो that was the only sensible thing he said, that Pakistan is a dump truck and India is a shiny Mercedes. भाई वही एक अकल की बात उसने की थी जो कुछ हकीकत पसंद आना थी. But the point is that he wasn't even very sure whether we are a Merc or we are a Ferrari. So apparently he used both those cars. But I don't mind. Either or is good for me. But look, your problem is that most of you guys do not understand where the Pakis are coming from. And where they're coming from is that their attitude is that, listen, I am so broke anyways. I am a dump truck, right? Like he says. So I have nothing. There is nothing in Pakistan. It's a shithole. So I have nothing to lose. But I have the capability of, destroying a lot of your infrastructure and causing you great harm. You see, that's the logic. It's like, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because my this thing seems to have frozen.
No, I can hear you though.
Okay. So it's like, somebody making an analogy that, okay, man, listen, you are living in a really swanky apartment, and I am living in a jhuggi, but at least I can break your windows, right? It's that analogy, nothing more than that. But this is not something unique to him. This is something, if you hear enough Pakistanis, and it doesn't matter what their accent is. It could be a Najam Sethi, it could be, a Mushahid Hussain, it could be a Shari Rahman, it could be any of these characters. Accent, background, it doesn't matter. That's the thinking, that's the mindset. So you need to understand where that thing is coming from. And they think that, if we start attacking India, we can cause great harm. Now, they don't understand a simple thing. And listen, guys, if you attack India, India also gets a vote, right? And right now, we've not done what all we can do. But imagine that supposing we build a dam on one of the rivers up north, and you start targeting it with missiles. Number one, it means that it's war. And you are going to be breaking one of the, in a sense, it's an unsaid rule between India, or has been in the so many wars that we have fought. And I mean largely, because suddenly, idiots who will listen to your program will suddenly come up. But what happened this time? They targeted this and they targeted that and they targeted civilians, which is nonsense. Some of it happens, but by and large, I mean that civilian targets, population centers, civilian infrastructure is not hit. Neither side has targeted them in all the wars that we have fought. Now, again, somebody will say, about what happened during 1948, they attacked people, etc. So, you can pick up anything, but by and large, if you see, civilians were left untouched. Now, if you are saying that I'm going to start attacking your civilian infrastructure, and I'm going to attack the refinery in Jamnagar, I will attack other such places. Okay, fine. But then we also get a call, right? We also get a vote on what we will attack. And then where is it written that because you've attacked one dam, we'll attack one? I'll attack all your dams. I'll destroy Mangla, I'll destroy Tarbela, I'll destroy Sakkar Barrage, I'll destroy a number of other dams that have come up in Pakistan. And I will destroy your canal irrigation networks, I'll destroy your headworks, but I will not stop out there. I will bloody make mincemeat out of the Karachi port. And this is just, I'm just starting off. Okay, so I have an entire laundry list of things that I will hit if you try something like this. I'm sure they are idiots, but they're not that big idiots also. See, if they were so suicidal, they wouldn't be sending their children abroad. Right? So they like to live the good life. They are suicidal when they are in Pakistan. And when the moment they retire, they all buy nice swanky apartments in London, Dubai, Australia, America, Canada, of course. But Canada is, a country which welcomes all kinds of third raters. Some good people also they invite over, but look at the kind of Pakistanis they have allowed in. People who have been accused of the most heinous crimes. They're part of the Pakistani Canadian community with which you must be interacting quite often. So there is this thing in them, right? So obviously he hasn't thought it through, but I think because he was speaking in a company of Pakistanis and he was trying to rouse them, trying to tell them that, listen, Pakistan is now on the verge of a takeoff, etc., etc. This is the standard bullshit line. All these guys go westwards and tell the Pakistanis out there. None of the Pakistanis out there invest back. Maybe they'll buy a plot or something, but they don't invest money in Pakistan. They know it's a mug's game. So this is a way to rouse those people into action, to tell them that Pakistan is not a gone case, that we have a lot of power, we can do various things. And look, now even Donald Trump is supporting us. He's in our pocket, so as to speak. That's the message he's trying to give. So he is reaching out to that particular crowd, and which is why he's shooting off his mouth. Again, on this whole nuclear business, look, he said similar things during his last visit in Washington. It was just not reported. Praveen Swami probably did not find people to report on that particular meeting, but he said similar stuff, even more bizarre stuff, which is why, and I've written about this in India Today, which is why they ensure that nobody is recording anything. Because ये ऐसी वाहियात बातें करता है कि अगर दुनिया को पता लग जाए कि ये कितना बड़ा पागल है, जिनको इन्होंने अपना फील्ड मार्शल बना रहा हुआ है, और इसके क्या दकियानुसी दिमाग है, और ये किस टाइप का इसका, what kind of a bigoted and venomous mindset he has, partly because of his upbringing. So this kind of a guy, they make sure that nothing goes out, there are no leakages, but still, since there are people sitting out there, they come out and they talk. So he has done this in the past as well, and the reason why he's able to do it, or he feels confident to do it, is because he thinks that the Americans have his back. It's like what Pannu does, or what the Khalistanis do. The Khalistanis can do what they're doing in Canada because they think that the Canadian government has their back, that they will turn a blind eye to whatever hate mongering they do, whatever criminal networks they run, whatever other bullshit they say. The Canadians are not going to touch them. They have complete impunity. It's the same thing with the Khalistani gangs in the US. Imagine the famed FBI, which catches criminals out of thin air, has still not been able to figure out who are the people who firebombed Indian consulates in San Francisco. But is this even credible? So it's the same thing with the Pakistanis, that they think that now the wheel has come full circle and the Americans are back in their pocket. At least the Trump administration hates India. And really, either India is ready to become a vassal state, in which case he will want to start talking to India, or he will go hammer and tongs at India, like Nixon and some others did in the past. I think that's the sense in Pakistan. I suppose it is increasingly the sense in the US, that this administration has that particular direction, because nothing what is happening is normal, and Trump obviously thinks that he can bully India, so he's doing it. He can't bully China, so he tacos, right? He chickens out. But he thinks he can bully India, so he's going whole hog to try and bully India into subservience. Now it's a choice for Indians whether we do what the Europeans have done and call him daddy, or we say, okay, fine, yeah, in our 7,000 year history, this too shall pass.
चल मैं तेरे को एक कहानी बताता हूँ. एक्चुअली अभी तू मुझे गाली देगा कि मैंने तुझे पहले क्यों नहीं बताया. माँ कसम मैं भूल गया, नहीं तो मैं तो तेरे को फोन पे बोल देता था. मैं जब कैनन एस्किस में था, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हेन G20 का ये हुआ था ना, आई वाज एट द रिजॉर्ट. सो हम लोग कुछ 4-5 लोगों का कंटिंजेंट था. मतलब ऑब्वियसली ANI PTI और IANS तो हर जगह जाता है, मगर हम लोग 4-5 लोग थे. मैं, गौरव सावंत था, आई थिंक NDTV से मारूफ थी, और एक दो जन थे. हम लोग सब लोग उधर थे. तो तभी सडनली मुझे एक मैसेज आता है, छोड़ दे वो सरकार में से किससे आया था. बोलते हैं कि हम लोग वेट कर रहे थे, वी वर जस्ट वेटिंग फॉर द ब्रीफिंग ऑन द ज़ेलेंस्की मोदी मीट, बिकॉज ज़ेलेंस्की एंड मोदी वर सपोज्ड टू मीट एट द साइडलाइंस. सडनली मुझे अंदर से मैसेज आता है कि भाई मीटिंग कैंसल. बोला है, मीटिंग क्यों कैंसिल हो गई? मतलब मोदी, मतलब अभी ज़ेलेंस्की का इतनी भी औकात दी है कि मोदी उसको भी नहीं मिलना चाहता. फिर बोलते हैं नहीं, ट्रंप ने फोन किया है. एंड देन ऑब्वियसली फोन पे बात हुई, और फिर हम लोग वेट करें जी क्या हुआ क्या हुआ क्या हुआ. और बाद में हिंट आया दैट कॉल डिड नॉट गो डाउन वेल एट ऑल. ट्रंप वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग मोदी टू लिटरली किस द रिंग, और बेसिकली मोदी ने सुशांत सरीन स्टाइल में TH के VC कर दिया. कौन है?
हाँ नहीं, बट
ये हुआ.
हाँ नहीं, ये हुआ होगा, बिकॉज तुम ये देखो ना, एंड आई थिंक मोदी डिड द राइट थिंग, बिकॉज व्हाट वाज ट्रम्प ट्राइंग टू डू. जैसे इनको ये अजरबैजान और आर्मेनिया को बिठा के जी मैं आई एम अ पीस मेकर, तो मोदी वाज टोल्ड हिम फक ऑफ यार. बेंचो, आई एम नॉट, सॉरी ये काट दियो यार.
ओए यार तू छोड़ यार, पॉडकास्ट है.
एनीवेज द पॉइंट इज कि व्हाट एल्स इज मोदी गोइंग टू से यार. साला व्हाट द हेल डू यू थिंक यू आर मैन? ठेकेदार है यार तू. यू बिकम अ प्रेसिडेंट, ओके फाइन, but just let it go, man. So yeah, I'm not surprised that things have gone in the direction they've gone.
Literally ये हुआ.
And in fact, remember, although nothing that Trump says needs to be taken seriously, in the sense that his facts, he plays around with the facts, the timelines, all of that. But yesterday there was this particular thing where he's talking about meeting Putin in Alaska, and he says that I leaned on the Russians, the second largest buyer. He doesn't name India in that, but he says the second largest buyer of petrol. I've slapped 50% tariffs on them. It's like made them think what will happen to them. He said that, and then he goes on to say that I've stopped so many wars and all. Again, he doesn't mention India, Pakistan. He said, but there was one particular place where they didn't listen to me. And the guy, he's a really tough guy. He's a friend of mine, but he didn't listen to me, and they went hammer and tongs at each other. And then after a week, they came running to me. Fact of the matter is, India didn't go running to him. It is the Pakis who went running to him. And I suspect, again, I don't have any hard information or any source-based information or whatever. I think the Pakistanis, because remember one thing, Kushal, very often we forget that till the 9th of May, the Americans were saying, and I'm now talking about J.D. Vance, was saying that we have nothing to do with what is happening in the subcontinent between India and Pakistan. It doesn't involve us. It's up to them how they handle it. He's given an interview saying that, right? And then on the 10th, they suddenly say that we played peacemaker. So my own sense is that the way this goes down is that uh, the Pakis call up the Americans and say that, look, the Indians have been hitting us very hard. Now we are going to do something really drastic. And remember, that is also the time they did some nuclear signaling, that we are calling a national command authority meeting and stuff like that, which they later on denied that any such thing had been done. So I suspect, like I said, I repeat, I don't have any information on this, but this is just my analysis of how the situation went down, that they must have given some nuclear signaling to the Americans and said that worst comes to worst, हमको तो फिर fire करना पड़ेगा. This is when J.D. Vance talks to the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister tells them that if they try something, I'm going to hit them right back and I'm going to hit them really hard. That's when the Americans panic. And then I suspect, and this is what I actually suspect, all this is given, right? I suspect that the Americans then spoke to the Pakistanis and promised them certain things and asked them to back down, because if they back down, then the Indians would back down, right? And what these guys must have done is that must have promised them certain things. We will call the field marshal, we will talk to you guys, there'll be trade. This thing which Trump keeps talking about, I said, I'll do trade with you and stuff like that. Probably he was offering a lollipop to the Pakistanis. कि यार तुम चुप करके बैठ जाओ अभी मैं फिर तुम्हारे साथ कुछ करता हूँ. Remember, this is the same things which the Americans in the past have done. People like Clinton and all did during Kargil. Okay, something similar. Although Clinton was a much smarter dude, so all that he said was that the president assures the prime minister that he will take personal interest in this matter to resolve differences between India and Pakistan. Everybody knew he's talking bullshit. He's just giving them a face saver. Trump obviously took it seriously. And the rebuff from the Indian side was that we are not going to let you get into this matter. I'm sorry, this is not on. So once the Pakis said, okay, fine, we are ready to back down, they spoke to us. This is when Rubio calls Jaishankar. So Jaishankar tells him that, look, the way to do this is not you don't come into this. You tell the Pakis to ask their DGMO to call up our DGMO. And they'll decide it at that level. Baat khatam ho jayegi. Hua wahi. But the Americans then realized that the Indians don't listen to us, so we have to cut them to size. So I think there is that element which has also come into play. They cut the Indians down to size. They are too big for their boots. They're getting too big for their boots. So I think one is that. The other is, of course, this whole issue of personal profit, which the Trump family or the Trump associates or the organization is seeking from inside Pakistan. Then, of course, is this entire snake oil. Pakistan is overflowing with minerals and wealth, and it's that great El Dorado. In fact, I've just written a piece for ORF. आने वाला होगा या अगर आ नहीं गया कि इन्होंने कब क्या क्या बोला है पिछले 25 साल में और कैसे they've led everybody up the garden path. कि जी हमारे को सडनली अल्लाह ने गोल्ड के ज़खायर दे दिए हमारे को. हम ढूंढ तो कोई तांबा शांबा रहे थे, वहां से गोल्ड निकला है. ठीक है, या ढूंढ हम लोहा रहे थे लेकिन वहां से गोल्ड और कॉपर निकल के आया. फिर वो रिको डिक का बोला कि रिको डिक वर्ल्ड्स लार्जेस्ट माइन, कॉपर रिजर्व्स एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. अब वो रिको डिक वाला बोलता है कि भाई 37 साल में 37 इयर्स में $74 बिलियन बनेंगे. $74 बिलियन इज लाइक $2 बिलियन a year. यार मतलब ये तो तुम मुझसे ले लो यार, right? So, and the rumors are right now that Barrick Gold is wanting to sell out because they feel कि यार यहाँ तो फंस गए हैं. So they're trying to rope in people like the Saudis. The Saudis were too smart. They expressed some interest and then they realized कि नहीं यार, maybe this is not the place we need to throw in our money. As it is, they've lost all their money that they've invested in Pakistan. So I suspect that there is that element as well on what's happening in this India-Pakistan thing. But it's a very clear that the Americans are using the Pakistanis as a kind of a cat's paw to get at India. Pretty clear. I don't think anybody can deny that anymore. So let's see how this works out.
So, okay, yeah. So yesterday they declared BLA as a terrorist thingy, but uske pehle they had declared the other ones who did Pelgam also as a terrorist thingy. Now, what?
BLA had declared a terror organization about 6 years back. Okay. What they have done is, it is like Lashkar-e-Taiba had been declared a terror organization in 2002. What they have done is now that, like, TRF is a front of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and then they declared that as a terror organization, and all of us were getting into raptures that, okay, the Americans are good friends of India. They're not good friends or anything. Yeah. So they gave us the lollipop of TRF ban, and they've given the Pakistanis a lollipop of the Majid Brigade ban. So ये इतना हुआ और कोई खास नहीं. Majid Brigade is supposed to be a front or a faction or whatever you want to call it of BLA. So nothing beyond that.
So do you think that basically this entire I'll nuke half the world down, and then the American the Americans intervening, it's like wild conspiracy theory somebody has asked, ki maybe it is the Americans telling Mullah Munir to say all this so that Trump can get a Nobel Peace Prize? He's that desperate.
No, Trump has already made a case for himself for Nobel Peace Prize. He says, I've stopped two nuclear weapon states from exchanging a nuclear exchange. And like I said earlier, again, which I said and I repeat for a third or the fourth time, that it is my analysis, not based on any first-hand information, but something which I have tried to piece together to make sense of what happened. So at one level, you can say that there is a kernel of truth in what Trump is saying. That when the Americans tell the Pakistanis who are threatening a nuclear exchange, and the Americans tell the Pakistanis, guys, just not drop it. We'll take care of things once the hostilities stop. We'll try and get you guys back on a table. We'll try and get you guys to talk. We'll give you certain trade concessions, etc., etc. We will start investments in Pakistan. We are already doing business in crypto and other things. So look at the good sides of things that will come your way. The goodies that await you. Why are you getting into this thing? And if you do this, then certain consequences will follow. But if you don't, then there will be certain rewards. So the Pakistanis decided that, okay, fine, this is what we'll do. So to that extent, Trump can take credit for saying that he stopped the nuclear war, for whatever that's worth. Only to that extent. Because the Indians were not biting. The Indians were saying that, okay, fine, if this bugger tries to do something like this, then the reaction from India will be overwhelmed. So quite clearly, we did not accept what the Pakis were saying, and we told the Americans what we were going to do. So there is some element of truth on what Trump is claiming, but this is my analysis. I repeat for the fifth time because I know what will happen. Somebody will cut and paste and do something stupid. So, I've said it for the fifth or the sixth time. So I don't buy the conspiracy theory part. कि उन्होंने इनको बोला तो इसलिए अब ये हो रहा है. I am a little skeptical of that. But yeah, the thing is that quite clearly that the Americans think that we need to cut the Indians down to size.
Yeah, but how are the Pakistanis able to manage the Americans so well while we are so abysmal at it?
Yeah, because I want to use a word. They're accomplished. It's a word. It's a 10-letter word. Starts with C. There is a C and K in between, and it ends with a KER in the end. Now you decide what you want to do with that. But that's what they are, right? They are accomplished at that. So वो भाई पुराने वो हैं चापलूस, they are ready to kiss ass anywhere and everywhere. If they will get $2 out of it, they are ready to do it. Their ego is only with us. Their ego is not with anybody else. They think it's only with the Hindu or with the Indian. With around the world, look at the way they treat some of these Western ambassadors in their country. Yeah? Like they're literally like viceroys. They literally spread themselves out. Out here, people talk to ambassadors and from other countries on a need-based kind of a thing. It's a business-like interaction. Nobody lays themselves out for them. Okay, walk over us and make them into celebrities. Nobody does that. Maybe the American ambassador to some extent has a certain celebrity status. But I don't even know how many people know about the name of the British ambassador out here. How many times have you seen the British ambassador's photograph in the Indian media, or the French or the German? Or German वाला फिर भी आ जाते हैं वो आजकल, because they will travel in a auto one day, eat golgappa the other day, do UPI the third day. This public diplomacy stuff which ambassadors do. But most of the Western ambassadors, nobody sees them on television anyways. Television or newspapers or pictures of them. Maybe in page 3.
Bhai, even the American ambassador, this one barely anyone knows. The one previously used to drive those pink auto rickshaws and do dances. वो शुदाइयां वक्कन.
We don't have an ambassador.
है भी क्या मुझे नहीं मालूम.
नहीं है.
हाँ तो बस वो जो था वो रिक्शे में डांस करता था और वो बॉलीवुड डांस करता था कुर्ते पजामे पहन के, तो वो आता था. बाकी तो हमको तो कुछ पड़ा ही नहीं है.
हाँ, but there have been like celebrity American ambassadors, like celebrity in the sense got a lot of mileage, front page news and stuff like that. There were people, and these were very accomplished people. There was Robert Blackwell was one I remember very vividly. There was this guy Blackwell, Frank Wisner was another one. Very highly regarded people, and good professionals. There were a number of others, Richard Celeste. Some of these were political appointees. They're pretty good guys, yeah. But what you now have is like trailer park trash.
Chalo. But then in hindsight, who's better for India? The previous Biden administration that was doing deep state horseshit, Bangladesh and many other things that were very obviously being done, or Trump in his आज 25%, कल 50%, फिर वापस 25%, चल मेरे लिए एक मुजरा कर, ये कर, वो कर. Like, who is better for India?
यार देखो यार, ये जो हमारा है ना, who is better, who is worse, इसमें देखो कुछ शायद अगेन कुछ हमारी भी गलती हो सकती है. For example, if Bangladesh is your pocket borough, then did you invest enough diplomatic and political capital in, say, Western capitals to counter the entire campaign that was being launched by the Muslim Brotherhood and the Jamaat-e-Islami and these kind of characters in Washington, which started almost 2 years, 3 years back? Did we try and counter it? Did we engage with the Americans at that level to apprise them of where these guys are coming from? Did we try and tell the Bangladesh government? Again, like I said, I'm not privy to any information, but these are questions which I have. Did we do something like this? Or did we let those lobbies outmaneuver us and convince people in the American establishment for a regime change operation backing somebody like a Muhammad Yunus, who is, a lackey of that kind of a crowd in the US. So one is that part of it. The same thing within India. Uh, we know that. Yeah, tell me something. Can you come across um, a single Netflix or Prime or any of these other OTT platforms serial which does not have an LGBTQ angle to it? मुझे कोई
No.
बता दे. हर एक में है.
Hmm.
ये कहां से आया? वो अप्रूव ही नहीं करेंगे. They will not approve your script if you have not included this. See, these are subtle ways of influencing the thinking in certain countries. Okay. So yes, the way the other guys used to do it was more insidious, and they were trying to get into your heads and make you poor copies of their society, right? And there was not enough pushback from here because nobody actually woke up to that fact. Okay, why the hell in every damn thing you are making? So there was one series. It was basically on this RAW spy who's working in Bangladesh. Tabu was the main protagonist in that. I didn't even see the whole thing because it was very badly made. But she has this thing in Bangladesh where one of her sources or one of her spies out there, she has a love interest in her, and suddenly it goes on to that angle. And I said, okay, fine. Now I know what they're trying to do. So I didn't find it interesting anyway, so I left it. But in everything you were including this. It was basically based on that Rabinder Singh case, right? That RAW guy who then ran off to America. It was essentially based on that, if I remember correctly. But you had to put in a lesbian angle in that. Why? Why can you not make a story on an incident based on a real incident without including all this? तो वो इस टाइप से करते थे, but nobody out here woke up. So हमारे यहाँ पर भी तो ये है ना, जो बाबू कल्चर यहाँ पर है और जो जिस तरीके के हमारे पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप्स हैं, चाहे वो सरकार में हो या ऑपोजिशन में हो, वो they don't wake up in time. They don't see what are the developing trends. तो फिर वो ये काम कर रहे थे. ये वाले जो हैं, they behave like the ugly Americans. कि भाई मेरे पास लाठी. Basically this is what happens in Haryana, right? In the rural areas, Haryana, Punjab, this is that logic. Western UP, maybe even the south, I don't know. Basically rural areas, even in urban areas. Bhai, I have the muscle power, I have the state power. If you go to WTO, screw WTO. Basically, if you go to the courts, screw the courts, I don't care. I can do whatever the hell I want to do, right? And there's shit all you can do about it. Attitude ये वाला है ना, बदमाश वाला. मैं बदमाश हूँ, I can do whatever the hell I want to do. So my way or the highway. This is that attitude. I remember in the old days, I won't take names because आजकल कुछ पता नहीं होता. There were these two chief ministers parties in Haryana, and my uncle was an industrialist, a very successful one. So he used to say, he says, yeah, look, I prefer the Congress party in Haryana, and I'm talking about 20 years back. He says, I prefer the Congress party in Haryana. And I said, why? He said, listen, yeah, the other guys will come and they will barge into your room, they will act rudely, and then they will tell you that I want such and such amount of money as donation and shuck it up right now. or I will do 50 things to your factory, I will shut it, etc., etc. Pure and simple extortion. And you shut it up right now, and there's nothing that I'm going to do for you. These are the Congress guys will come. They will ask for an appointment. They will come, sit politely, and then very apologetically say that, please, can you give us some money for party donation? And then they will ask you in such a nice manner that you will say, okay, fine, I will. And then they'll say, no, but thank you so much for helping this national cause, etc., etc. And please let us know what we can do for you. So he says, I prefer the Congress party here, in Haryana at least. So this is the difference. Now you tell me, पैसे तो तूने दोनों को ही देने हैं, लेकिन अब तू डिसाइड कर ले कि who you want to deal with. तो इनका हालत है वो वाला लठ वाला कि लठ मारा तुम्हारे सर पे कि पैसे दो. This is the problem.
So how do we deal with this entire kerfuffle now? This new reality that America is going to play footsie with Pakistan. Pakistan, I understand is in, marta kya na karta kind of a situation. Like the irony that, Munir actually called his own country a dump truck. He's not lost of people. Like, वो तो बोल रहा है मैं भिखारी, मैं बिकू, मैं मरा गला सड़ा. मगर how do we tackle this in the next? See, obviously, Trump administration. This is a Trump thing. Now, if no matter who comes, any other Republican or any other Democrat comes, it's not going to be this antagonistic at this level of volatility that Trump generates. It can't be.
I don't think you can predict what will happen 3.5 years from now.
और ट्रंप के साथ तो कल क्या होने वाला मालूम नहीं होता.
But you think JD Vance will be any better?
He will not be as volatile as Trump. That's
Really?
just not a personality type, right?
Really?
I mean, I know people who know him for a while now.
Okay, मतलब ये तुम्हारा तो दामाद है ना, so you think you know him.
No, दामाद का बात नहीं है. I seriously know people who have known him. I asked them. I was like, what? This is the same guy who used to be anti-Trump politician बन गया तो pro-Trump.
The only good son-in-law in the world is me. Okay. तो बाकी रहने दे, बाकी ये सारा. So listen, you can't predict what is going to happen because this whole MAGA crowd is kind of a little unhinged. Right? See, again, I understand some of the stuff they're talking about. Okay? It's the same. It's you might be wanting to do the right thing, but if you are going to do it the wrong way, it backfires, right? So if they're saying that, look, crime in Washington, D.C. has gone crazy. Yeah, it has. That this phenomena of 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, some of it we are seeing in our own country. Because of juvenile laws, you cannot prosecute them. So a 16-year-old can go and rape a girl, become part of a gang rape, and be involved in the murder of somebody, but you can't do anything to him except put him in a correction center for 2 years, 3 years. But if you're old enough to commit murder and rape, then you are old enough to serve a full sentence. The point is that these are things, which are on which I don't disagree with what these characters have been saying. This whole woke nonsense in the US had gone completely out of control. I again understand the Americans saying that, look, the Europeans need to start paying for, some of their own security. They can't be riding free on everybody else's shoulders, right? And then pontificate to the rest of the world. So yes, there was some merit in that argument. But the question is, how do you go about doing it? Do you do it in the kind of insulting and incendiary manner that you do it? Or do you do it in a more nuanced, diplomatic way? You can be delivering a very tough message, I can again understand that, look, the kind of liberal trade regime that the United States had, it needs to be fixed. It needs corrections. I can understand that. But, there are compulsions in other countries also, which, if you are transactional, then do a transactional with which both sides can live.
Yeah, I think actually America had a very good point on India being a very high tariff nation, because India is a very high tariff nation.
Again, that's wrong. That's wrong. We were not a very high. There were certain things in which we were very high. Again, some of those tariffs are mindless. I accept that point. Why should you? Yaar, how many people in India will drink bloody bourbon whiskey? Please tell me. कितने पिएंगे यार? 90% of them will not drink it. You want to charge 150% duty for what? कोई अकल की भी बात करनी चाहिए ना हमारे यहाँ पर, बट हमारे यहाँ अकल की तो कोई, when it comes to economics there is no अकल. तो हम लोग, नहीं जी, ये तो महात्मा गांधी ने बोला था शराब पीना बड़ी गंदी बात है, तो अब हम विदेश से शराब आएगी तो इसको खूब चार्ज करो. किस चीज का 150% चार्ज कर रहे हो यार? 40-50% कर लो जो बाकी सारे करते हैं. तो हमारे यहाँ पर भी there's a level of mindlessness that is inexplicable यार. तो हमारी वो बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम. बट बाय एंड लार्ज अगर देखा जाए कुशल, every country protects certain sectors for a variety of reasons, emotional, sentimental reasons. You say whatever you want to call it, right? Sometimes economic reasons. And frankly, while I do agree that there needs to be very sweeping reforms in the agricultural sector, you simply cannot throw 400 million people onto the streets because you want to appease Donald Trump's ego. It doesn't work that way, boss. We need to be a little realistic about certain things. So now the question is, what do you do about it? I think there will be it's a very, very, very serious and a very delicate situation, because whether we like it or not, it's not just, people are just looking at the $150 billion merchandising trade. But this relationship is far, far, far more than that. It's not just about the $40 billion or the $80 billion of exports, out of which maybe about $40-45 billion will suffer. It's a whole range of other things in which you are working together with the Americans. And it was a mutually beneficial relationship. A lot of that suffers very grievously now. And the thing is that when you start looking for partners around the world, the Russians, even if I was to accept a very old and good and loyal friends, the Russians simply do not have enough in their store that we need. So there is that issue as far as the Russians are concerned. The Chinese, while okay, there is a thaw with the Chinese, but it's a Hobson's choice to say that, okay, fine, now I'm going to be BFF with China and I'm putty with the Americans. But do the Chinese want that? As far as the Chinese are concerned, they'll encourage you, say kutti to them. Right? But my point is that, yes, even if I don't say kutti to the Americans, if tomorrow, supposing there is something untoward which happens between me and China, will the Americans be on my back? Can anybody, till a year back or 6 months back, we were asking these questions. Will the Russians back us in the event of any conflict between India and China? You remember how many times this question was asked?
Yeah.
So today, you can ask the same question about the Americans and the Europeans. that we are talking about strategic partnerships and strategic relationships with them. But if supposing tomorrow something untoward was to happen between India and China, will the Americans stand on our back? Can you answer that question with any degree of certainty?
No, nobody will stand. The whole point is India chose its path of non-alignment under Nehru and different versions of it under different political leaderships. And this is the price you pay for that. So
No, no.
but we have
Why-
given in a lot to America, Sushant. We have given them concessions under agriculture. I know it very well.
आप नॉन अलाइनमेंट स्ट्रेटेजिक इकोनॉमी तो करते जा रहे हो, फिर अपने अंदर वो भर भी लेते ना, गुदा भर लेते ना स्ट्रेटेजिक इकोनॉमी का, कि कल को अगर सपोजिंग ये वाली हालात आ गई तो हम ऐसे मैनेज करेंगे, ये भी कर लेते ना, अपनी इंडस्ट्री को बना लेते, अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी को बना लेते, अपने लोगों को चीजें विकसित करने देते, कर लेते ना। फिर स्ट्रैटेजिक इकोनॉमी, नॉन अलाइंड, लीडर ऑफ थर्ड वर्ल्ड, अब नाउ ग्लोबल साउथ, ये सब बकवास तो हम कर रहे हैं। बोलने में तो हमसे बड़ा कोई उस्ताद नहीं है बॉस। लेकिन भाई आप मुझे ये बताओ ना, एट दिस आई एग्री वी हैव डन वेल, बट आई एम सेइंग दैट इफ दिस इज द strategic vision which you had, this was your grand strategy, that we will be okay even if we are on our own. That does not mean that I've cut off relations with the rest of the world, but I am not depending on anybody's crutches. Then please tell me, have you built that entire wherewithal where you do not need anybody else's crutches? तो मेरी प्रॉब्लम और जो मुझे गुस्सा आता है वो इस चीज पे आता है। मुझे तो बोल दिया ना आपने कि ईज ऑफ बिजनेस हमने बढ़ा कि 15 पॉइंट हम ऊपर चले गए। भाई जो बोल रहा है कि 15 पॉइंट ऊपर चले गए ना, उसको बोले एक छोटा सा बिजनेस खोल के दिखाओ एज एन एनोनिमस पर्सन इन दिस कंट्री, तेरी वाट लग जाएगी। जो चीज आधे घंटे, 1 घंटे में, 1 दिन में हो जानी चाहिए, वो 4-4 महीने लोग दफ्तरों के चक्कर काट रहे होते हैं। ये कोई तरीका है काम करने का यार? और फिर घूसखोरी करो। सरकारी फीस 7,000 रुपए, बंदा 25,000 रुपए लेगा, वो चाहे FSSAI हो या कोई भी डिपार्टमेंट हो। कागज ही नहीं मिलेंगे आपको, आपको ना कोई नहीं बोलेगा, लेकिन देगा नहीं कुछ। तो ये कोई तरीका है यार काम करने का? कोई चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है, अंधेर नगरी बनाई हुई है यार। और ये सिर्फ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का नहीं है, स्टेट्स में भी यही हालत है, म्युनिसिपल इश्यूज में भी यही हालत है। तो ये तो ठीक कर लेते ना। अबे यार सब कुछ छोड़, तू ये तो बहुत बड़ी बड़ी बातें कर रहे, साला सड़क तो ठीक कर लो, लोगों को रॉन्ग कैरेज वे से तो रोक लो, ट्रैफिक रूल तो फॉलो करवा दो, कि वो भी नहीं कर सकते। सड़कों पे पानी भरना तो रुकवा दो, नालियां तो साफ करवा लो, कि वो भी नहीं कर सकते। उसके लिए भी ट्रंप की जरूरत है, पुतिन की जरूरत है, या जी जिनपिंग, या जैसे पाकिस्तानी करते कि कूड़ा उठवाने के लिए वो टर्की की कंपनी लेके आते हैं। चले कूड़ा नहीं उठता जितना ढक्कन है वो अपना देश डंप ट्रक तो बना दिया, वो डंप ट्रक को पता ही नहीं कि वो कूड़ा कहाँ डालना है साला। My problem, my anger is with these things, yaar.
No, I think it's a fair critique and a fair anguish. As someone who actually does, मैं तो भुक्तभोगी हूँ मेरे भाई। मैंने तो 20 साल झेला है ये अपनी जिंदगी के धंधा करके इस देश में। मैं तेरे को ये बोल सकता हूँ कि लेवल ऑफ टॉर्चर कम हुआ, घूसखोरी कम हुई, और मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ परफेक्ट है, बिफोर समबडी मिस कोट्स मी, मगर डेफिनेटली यस, धंधा करना आसान हुआ।
I don't deny that. I completely agree with you. There have been a lot of improvements that have taken place. I'm not denying that. My issue is कि यार हम लोग कितने थोड़े से खुश हो जाते हैं। तुमने एक चीज देखी है इंडिया में, अगर तुम किसी सरकारी दफ्तर में जाओ, आप एक नॉर्मल सा काम है, वो बंदा अगर कर दे ना वो काम,
आप शॉक में चल जाते हो।
नहीं, आप उसके कृतज्ञ हो जाते हो भाई. You
Yes.
are thanking him for doing his job. Okay, boss, you have done your job. Thank you so much. You are such a nice person. You are so helpful. It is the bugger's job. हम
ये
खुश हैं
भाई,
उस
ये
बंदे.
मैं भी वही हूँ. मैं भी
हाँ?
जब मेरे साथ बिना रिश्वत खिलाए मेरे को पहली बार मेरा टीडीएस रिफंड आया ना मेरी लाइफ में, मैं तेरे को बात बता रहा हूँ 2016 की, टीडीएस रिफंड आ गया, पैसे नहीं खिलाए, तो मैं ऐसे सर खुजाना शुरू हो गया. मैं डैड के पास गया, आई विल नेवर फॉरगेट दिस. मतलब डैड ये पैसा आ गया, कुछ गलत तो नहीं पैसा आ गया? डैडी बोलते क्या बात कर रहा है, पैसे खिलाए बगैर आ गया? मैं बोला हाँ डैडी.
तो
ये
यही
ये
ना.
है, ये है.
बट तो हम लोग कितने थोड़े से खुश हो गए कि यार मेरा रिफंड आ गया, बिना पैसे ही नहीं खिलाए. वो तो आना चाहिए था यार.
नहीं
मैं कोई
पागल
illegal-
तो.
मैं कोई इलीगल काम, कोई मैं ये थोड़ा ना कर रहा था कि मैं सोना स्मगल कर रहा था, वो मेरा सोना मैंने निकाल लिया और इसलिए मैं बड़ा खुश हूँ. अबे यार, नॉर्मल इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न फाइल किया था, मैं रिफंड बनना, थोड़ा रिफंड वापस आ गया, तो आना चाहिए ना. और हम खुश हैं कि यार बहुत बदल गया भारत, मेरा भारत बदल गया है.
अरे यार छोटी छोटी चीजें मैं तेरे को बोलता हूँ. सोशल मीडिया हैज बीन, आई एम नॉट सेइंग म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशंस की मैं वाहवाही कर रहा हूँ, मगर हाउ सोशल मीडिया हैज हेल्प्ड अस कॉमन सिटीजन्स. छोटी छोटी चीजें होती है. सो हमारे चेंबूर के है ना फेसबुक पेजेस होते हैं, ऑलराइट. उस पे अगर किधर भी खड्डा कोई प्रॉब्लम कुछ होगा ना, अभी सिटीजन इतने स्मार्ट हो गए हैं, दे टेक अ फोटो एंड दे पुट इट ऑन दैट चेंबूर फेसबुक पेज जिसमें सारे चेंबूर के लोग होते हैं. और जो फजीता होता है उधर म्युनिसिपालिटी का, फिर म्युनिसिपालिटी आती है उधर ही फेसबुक पे फोटो डालती है, हमने फिक्स कर दिया है.
नहीं नहीं, वो ठीक है. सी, विच इज ओके, विच इज फाइन. आई थिंक दैट्स गुड. खैर उसमें थोड़ा सा ये भी केयरफुल भी रहना चाहिए बिकॉज ऑफ दिस सोशल मीडिया. यू नो, अ लॉट ऑफ नॉनसेंस आल्सो गोज. पीपल ट्राई एंड एक्सटॉर्ट. गलत काम कर रहे होंगे, अगर कोई अधिकारी रोकेगा गलत काम करने से, तो उसको डाल देंगे कि जी दिस गाय इज being obstructionist or whatever. So I think we need to be a little careful on that. But what I'm saying is that, listen, yaar, guys, just pull up your socks and say, okay, we are going to clean the system to the maximum extent possible in the shortest possible time, right? We can start doing that. You know, we can bring in regulatory reforms. You can bring in certain legal reforms. Uh, we can end this inspector culture. We can figure out ways on how to end it. ये जितनी घूसखोरी वगैरह, and first thing we need to do is scrap this idea of an eighth pay commission. They're already very highly paid government servants. Nobody else is paid what, you know, people even at the lowest levels of government are paid. So I think it's about time we need to stop this nonsense right now. For the next 5 years, there will be no pay commission, right? But then there will be political considerations that will come in. So I don't know how they plan to handle this. But look, let's not forget, this is a very serious challenge to India's economy, India's
Yeah.
strategic environment, and I. It would be excellent if the Chinese were suddenly to turn around and say that, look, okay, fine, we are going to settle things with India, and we don't want this part of the world to have any of those tensions that were there. There'll be some differences that we will have on policies and other things, but by and large, we are settling our matters with India so that there are no tensions along our borders, and this relationship will flourish, you know, between the two biggest countries of Asia. I don't think they are going to go down. I think if I was a Chinese guy, I would say, okay, fine, the Indians are in trouble. They are reaching out to me. Let me twist the knife in the Americans and the Indians. And if I can drive a wedge between them, which again, Trump is doing a fairly good job of that. If I can drive a wedge between them, then let me do that. And you know, then I have the Indians, you know, on a limb. I deprive the Americans of a potential ally, and I'm the top dog, right? for whatever that being that top dog is worth. Again, I think that's a very myopic way of looking at things, but then that has been the Chinese policy.
Chalo.
But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think we have to understand that we have an enemy in Pakistan, we have an adversary in China, we have an emerging adversary in America. We might have some decent relations with the Russians, but the Russians just don't have everything we need.
Yeah.
You have a Europe which is too effete and too much, enthralled with Donald Trump, and it's too intertwined with the Americans to say anything. In fact, they are threatening their own sanctions on us. So let's not kid ourselves that we are not in any trouble. I think there are a lot of headwinds coming our way, and some of them have started hitting us already. अब मुझे जाना है, मेरा 8 बजे एक और जगह
Yes.
साइन.
बस मैं एक ही चीज बोलता हूँ, इवेंचुअली सबसे ज्यादा मजा आएगा अगर मोदी को नोबेल पीस प्राइज मिल जाए रशिया यूक्रेन के लिए. ट्रम्प बड़ा कल पे
Declare war on us, यार.
चल तू जा. All right, guys. Sushant has to go, and so do I. So everybody go follow Sushant, and don't accuse Sushant of swearing. He never swears.
Yeah, I know. Chalo, okay, bye.
Chalo, bye. Take care, guys. Bye bye.